Hubert.
Yeah.
Good to see you. Thanks
Good to
for
see
doing
you.
this.
Yeah.
Wanted to ask you about your backcourt, RJ and Caleb. Just the growth you've seen from them over the last month or so, and how it sort of culminated last weekend and everything they were able to accomplish.
Well, it's not just the growth over the last, month or a couple of weeks. It's the growth from last year to this year. It was very difficult for them last year. I felt bad for them because, as freshmen, they didn't have the luxury of having an upperclassman at their position that can show them the way of how to prepare, how to practice, how hard you have to play, just to give yourself a chance to be successful. They just, as freshmen, were given the keys and said, here's North Carolina, run the show. And at times it was up and down for them, and it's, the natural progression of the difference between being a freshman and a sophomore. But I just, their leadership, their work ethic has always been great, but on the floor, their ability, they're true combo guards. They can play off the ball, they can play point guard, they have a great understanding of when to pass and when to shoot. They're both gifted in being able to score and also create shots for others. They've really stepped it up defensively this year. And the part that I'm really proud of is they're doing a great job of taking care of the basketball. That was an area that we really struggled in at the beginning of the year, especially last year. And it was an emphasis for us to limit turnovers. And they have the ball in their hands most of the time. And their decision-making has just been really good.
Hubert, are you surprised that this has never happened before, like a Duke UNC meeting?
I am. I'm very surprised. I can't believe the last time that we both been in the Final Four was when I was 20 years old in 1991. And so I am surprised that it hasn't happened before. And I think it's very funny that the last two times that we've been in the Final Four, I've been at the Final Four. So I am surprised. As celebrated and as successful as both programs have been, for us to not have met in the Final Four very many times is very rare and surprising.
Ever. I mean, what's the significance of that for college basketball, the sport? What do you think it means?
The significance, I don't know, and I don't really care, and I'm not even thinking about it. Right now is the only thing that, and I've said this to you guys before, our focus needs to be on what allows us to prepare the best, practice the best, and play the best. And so focusing and taking time on anything outside of our preparation, our practice, and our play just doesn't have any benefit for us in order for us to be the best that we can be on Saturday. So Duke Carolina, the significance, Coach K's last season, those things, even though that is a story and that's relevant, it doesn't help us on the floor. And so our focus is on what helps us on the floor, and it's our preparation, our practice, and our play. I've told the guys, you got to turn down or turn off the noise from the phone, the family, the friends, and the fans, and focus on what's ahead of us. And so that's my approach. That's my communication to the players, and they've done a really good job of focusing on what's most important and what's needed.
With that, with the noise that there's going to be this week, it's going to be more than it was a few weeks ago when you guys went over there for the final home game, that you've already been
think?
through.
There was a lot of noise.
Do you think that the fact you guys already had that experience of kind of insulating for a week and blocking everything out will help you this week?
I do. I think that, going through that experience, I think the experience of going through the NCAA tournament and, having gone through playing an unbelievable Baylor team in Texas and, having to play a really great St. Peter's team very close to their home. We've had to block out the noise all season. At times, we haven't done it as well as we should at the beginning of the year, but the latter part of the year, I think the guys have done a tremendous job of that. And so and I expect them to be able to do it this week.
As a follow-up to that, how much did you have to kind of work it to get them to the point where they could block out the noise? Because the noise was going on, excuse me, through the year, and it was negative at times and highly positive at times.
Well, again, a lot of this growth has happened because of the shared experiences that we have had this season. This was a year of newness. It was new head coach, new coaching staff, new players. There's been tweaks and pivots and alters in terms of how we play on both ends of the floor, and it is, taken time for us to all understand each other, everybody be on the same page, and I think, a month and a half, 2 months ago, I told you that, the togetherness and the health of this team is at all-time best, and it's because of the shared experiences and the time that we have spent together. And so, that focus and being able to block out the noise we have gotten to that place because of our experience of growing through that throughout the entire season.
Hubert, how do you balance between allowing them freedom offensively, like literally running freelance, and when you feel like it's time, I need to call a play here to get us into the right position to score?
Well, I really love the decision making of our players. I want them to be instinctive. I want them to use their gifts and talents out there on the floor, and I don't want them to be robots. I want them to be basketball players. I tell them that I call plays not for a play to be run. I call a play to put them in some form of organization to allow them to use their gifts and talents out there on the floor. If I call a certain play and you want to break that play because the defense is playing you in such a way that you feel like it dictates you doing something else, I love that. I encourage that, and I hope for that. And so that's what I want. There are times where I will rein it in and say, this is specifically what I want. I'll give you an example. Against the St. Peter's game, I thought I started the game from an offensive standpoint really, really well. We were attacking the basket and through post and penetration. I really liked it. And then for a 4-minute stretch in the first half, we went away from that and started shooting outside jump shots off of 0-on-1 passes. And so we got into the huddle. I said, guys, that's not it. I said, look, I love you guys shooting jump shots. We're a great outside shooting team, but just remember what has allowed us to get success. So I said, next time down, no quick jump shots. We've got to get the ball inside through post penetration or an offensive rebound. So I give them freedom, but at times I'm more specific in terms of what we need if we feel like we're going away from what's allowing us to have success on the offensive end.
How much did your time, 7 years as JV head coach, how much did that kind of tweak, did you kind of tweak and develop, the style that you're using now as far as that's concerned?
Not necessarily the style. I think, the experience for 7 years being a head coach for the JV program put me in a position to make decisions. Obviously on sort of much lesser scale, but you're still making substitutions, you're still making play calls, you're still putting together practice plans and running practice, you're still dealing with individuals and personalities and relationships. And so I think those things definitely translate and put me in a position to be familiar with things that I need to be thinking about as a head coach. And I don't know where I would be without that experience of for 7 years being the JV coach.
Hubert, with Brady, you talked about fit was immediate.
Yes.
You felt good about, like you've been here a long time. How long did it take you maybe to pick up the competitive edge or the fire? We see him hitting big shots pretty fearlessly, talking on the court. And how much of that is maybe getting an older guy from the transfer portal that is tested and kind of ready to take on those big moments?
Well, for Brady, the thing, that I really liked was that, one, his experience, and two, his experience in the Big 12. I just think, his ability, playing against Baylor, playing against Kansas, at Baylor, at Texas, those are things that I thought could translate to playing in this conference and playing in this program. honestly, the things that I know about him now, I didn't know before he got here on campus. I knew that he was a successful player. I knew that he can really shoot the basketball. I did not know that he was an outstanding passer. I did not know that instinctively he's just brilliant in terms of where to be on the floor and the plays that he needs to make. I didn't know that he was going to be such an unbelievable teammate and a person to coach. And I didn't know that his family is just beautiful. And so those are things that I found out. And so it was a home run. And the chemistry between us, the chemistry between him and this team, this program and this university and community has just worked. And as I said before, the only negative thing that I can say about Brady is that I only get to coach him for one season.
Coach Davis, you early on in the season and even before the season, you said this team could win a national championship. You were pretty confident in that.
Yeah.
What did you see back then that has come to fruition now?
Well, I saw that we had a chance. I really was excited about a couple things. Number one, the makeup of us from an offensive standpoint. I thought that we had great versatility and ability to be able to score. I just thought, with Armando around the basket and then the versatility of Brady, the growth of RJ and Caleb, and I just knew that Leaky was going to have a really successful year. So from an offensive standpoint, I was very encouraged. I was also very excited about us defensively. I just felt like that we had an ability to be a really good defensive team. And at the beginning of the year, that was an area that was up and down. And over the last, I think, 10 or 11 games, we have held teams to 41% or lower. And we're not only being good defensively, it's been consistent. And so, at the beginning of the year, I felt like we had a chance, and that's what you want. You want to have a team, you want to coach a team that has a chance to get to a Final Four and win a national championship. And I felt that way at the beginning of the year, and it's been fun to see our team continue to get better and put ourselves in a position to be able to do that.
And have you spoken to Coach Williams since Sunday?
No, I texted him, told him I needed to call him. He called me about 10 minutes ago, and I told him that I will call him a little bit later today. Yeah.
I would ask you about shooter's mentality. I remember when you played, I would say that you had shooter's mentality. And can you talk about what that is?
What is that?
I think that if you miss 20, you're going to make the 21st.
Okay, then I like that definition.
He didn't miss 20.
What, 19, whatever.
Not 19 either.
Can you, relative to what Caleb did the other night, can you, I don't know, I think golfers have this when they have the putter in the hand that they can't miss at that particular time. What is it when you get hot like that, and what does it feel like? Does it feel like you can't miss? Does it feel like the basket is bigger than it really is? I'm sure you've had one of those streaks in your life.
Well, for Caleb, one of the many things that I love about Caleb is there's two things. One, his confidence. It doesn't matter the percentages. He always feels like he's going to make the next shot. And I think that's a talent, and he has that, and he's really good at that. The other thing is for Caleb is he likes, and he's not afraid to fail. He likes being in that situation to take the shot, to be in those pressure situations and to be able to step up. I don't know where we would be without Caleb. I mean, he was struggling from the field, and he hit a big three in overtime against Louisville. He made the pass to Brady at Clemson, and he made a big three on the road, and he was struggling from the field. Beginning of the game, most of the game, he struggled shooting the ball against Syracuse, and he went off the latter part of that game and into overtime, and then, obviously against UCLA, he was really hot. The thing that I really enjoyed about his performance against UCLA was, and I think I've told you guys this, was that he is working now inside out more consistently offensively, and I think it's just made a huge difference in his game. I've always felt like because of his length and his athleticism, he can get to the basket pretty much anytime he wants. And now he's establishing himself at attacking the basket and then working himself out, shooting the ball from the outside. And I just think he's a brilliant player, but he's so much better when he does that, and consistently he's been doing that.
I saw you have a streak like that at Duke when you were senior, where you couldn't miss.
Well, I didn't go inside. I wasn't as athletic and as talented as Caleb.
But the Dukies were all cheering for you. That was, you were so good that night. It was the only time the students.
Well, I remember we lost the game,
Right.
and that's what I remember.
Hubert, earlier in the year, to your point, Caleb, it seemed like he was struggling when he would get into the paint with trying to decide exactly how to score. And the field goal percentage was not there. Against UCLA, against St. Peter's, he was converting a lot of those difficult shots at the rim. Has that been a talking point? And beyond that, how does him having success at the rim helping beyond the arc?
Well, it definitely, it's something that we have talked about because I think, as I said before, I really love his ability at attacking the basket, but we've talked about it from the standpoint of not just scoring, but also facilitating. I think it's, what are we, 14-0, 15-0 when Caleb has 5 assists or more, and I tell him that before every game because he's that talented that not only can he score, he can also create shots for his teammates, and he's not only has he bought into that, he's accepted it and he's embracing it, and he's really seeing like the success from that. And so that's something that we have worked on, on the off season. We worked on finishing around the basket. I felt like that was an area that he struggled in last year, especially with his offhand. He's doing a much better job at that. And I think he's doing a much better job of understanding when he gets into the lane, those little pocket passes that he was making to Armando. He wasn't making that last year. He wasn't making that consistently at the beginning of the year. Those are plays that he's doing right now, and that's what it's allowing him to have success and for everybody to see that he's a big-time guard.
The defensive growth, how much of that was the other guys seeing what Leakey's capable of and being like, I need to step up my game?
I definitely think that they have looked at Leakey and seen the benefit of what defense can do to help our team. I think the guys have understood the benefit of playing good defense and what that means for them personally in terms of playing time. And I also think that they have seen the benefit as a team, what that does for our success. I cannot remember what game it was, but it was just clearly identified that when we play defense, when we rebound, and when we take care of the basketball, we don't lose a game. And so what brings faith is us saying something and then them doing it and then it working out. And I think for them, us talking about it and then them doing it and them seeing the benefit of it has just grown tremendous faith in what we're doing and what we're all about and how it's successful, not only for the team, but for them individually. And we're just in a really good spot right now.
Coach, you've already talked about just how big this Final Four matchup is and the pressure and even the noise, how you've addressed that with the players. But can you tap a little deeper into the conversations you're having, even on an individual level, perhaps with some of your guys, how you're keeping them grounded in this unprecedented environment? And maybe you can answer that for yourself too, the conversations you're having with you right now, going into such a high pressure situation.
I don't have to have conversations with me. I know it's very difficult to understand this, but as big and as exciting as this game is on Saturday and being a part of the Final Four, I've been to the Final Four. I played 12 years in the NBA. And so it's a game. And so there's nothing to be nervous about. There's no anxiety. There's no conversations to be had with the players other than what's most important to us. And the most important thing to us is how we're going to prepare this week, how we're going to practice, and how we're going to play. Everything else is insignificant. It just isn't. honestly, the thing that I have talked about the most is getting all your family and friends travel arrangements done. They have a deadline at 5 p.m. today. You have to have all your ticket requests in, all your family stuff in, so that that's all done. The rest of the week, it's all about us. It's all about our preparation. And the other thing that I have expressed to them, and it's because of the joy that I feel, is that I know what they're going to see. I know what they're going to experience. When we practice on Thursday, they go out and they see that stadium. And when we go out and practice on Friday and there's 30,000 at our practice and we're one of 4 teams in the country still practicing, those are the things that I talk about, not from a standpoint of pressure, but out of thankfulness and appreciation and joy for where you are and the hard work that you have put. And I want them to enjoy it. This is not a time of pressure and anxiety, and it's a time of joyfulness and thankfulness and peace and celebration. And so a little bit different than what you're talking about, but those are the conversations that we're having with the team.
In 91, do you remember the potential?
After Andrew,
like,
I've got next, so go ahead, Andrew.
Okay. Do you remember like the potential hype of that matchup? I know it didn't come to fruition, but you guys were both there in 91. The potential of playing Duke and
that's no. That was not even talked about with Coach Smith. It would be a waste of time to think about a possible matchup that we could play Duke in the final in 1991. We were playing Kansas. Our focus and our attention was on Kansas, and we didn't play our best game, and Kansas won. There was no thought, no time. I don't have any memory, and I know that we spent no time thinking about the possible matchup. We were focused on Kansas and trying to win that game, and we ended up didn't win it.
I have 2 questions from some out-of-town folks. Pat Forty from Sports Illustrated. Coach, how did you stay so positive with your team early in the season?
Why wouldn't I stay positive? I love these kids. They're great. Like, what is there to be negative about? They're kids. And so my job is to help, encourage, love, coach, support. That's my job. And I tell them all the time that the number one and the only thing on my list is I want things to work out for you. So why would I be discouraged or be hard to be encouraged by that? I love these kids. They've given themselves, this team, this program, this university, this community, everything that they've had, and they've trusted me. This has been my first year as head coach, and they trusted me. And so, my goodness, I love these kids.
And then Rod Walker from the Times-Picayune in New Orleans. Do you have any memories of the 2 national championships that Carolina won in New Orleans? In '82, you were 11, and in '93, you were a rookie in the NBA.
I do. I remember missing the first half of the '82 championship because I had a Boy Scout meeting, and I wanted to get out of it. My parents wouldn't allow me because I had made a commitment. And they talked to me about the definition and the lessons on integrity and somebody that keeps their word. And I didn't understand what that meant because I wanted to watch North Carolina play, but I got to watch the second half. And then I remember I was with the New York Knicks. I was a rookie, and we were playing the Atlanta Hawks, and we were watching the final game in 1993. And it was a feeling of joy, and it was a feeling of sadness. It was a feeling of joy because the guys, I had played with most of them, with the exception of the freshmen. I had played with Donald Williams and Pat Sullivan and Eric Montross and George Lynch, and I was so proud and happy and joyful for them. And then I was also sad because that had always been my hope and my dream, was to cut down the nets in a Carolina uniform. And I knew that I would never have a chance to do that again. And so I was sad too.
Okay, back here, we got about 5 more minutes.
Hubert, has Armando gotten the credit, you think, from nationally that he deserves for the type of play he's had with especially when you have all these big men leave and he's sort of the guy for you guys as far as a presence inside? Do people appreciate what he does enough, you think?
I don't know.
Do you?
Oh, I know I do. I know I do. I not only appreciate his play, I appreciate his personality. I appreciate what he has done in the classroom. As you know, he was on the dean's list the last semester. I appreciate what he's meant to this program. I can't tell you what a driving force for me as a coach is for him. Like what, you know, the first couple years, you know, one, we weren't going to go to the NCAA tournament, but there was no tournament because of COVID. And then last year we lost he had never won an NCAA tournament game. And so for Armando, I wanted him to experience what Carolina is like. And it's just been great seeing him be celebrated individually, but also experience the success of our team and our program. And I remember the first time that I ever saw Armando play, and I'm so thankful that I ended up in that gym and that he's a part of this program and that I get to coach him. I love him to death.
Hubert, how much of an impact has Sean May had on Hubert in terms of, you know, this being his first year, he could be on court coaching and that kind of being his position?
Well, I think that's so valuable to have Coach May on staff, that now he can be on the court with them. You know, Sean is so accomplished, not only here, but also in the NBA. He's a fantastic coach and communicator, and his relationships with the players are just off the chart. And I just think it's really important, like, for a big guy to have another big guy on staff that played at that institution and played in the NBA. I think that having that experience and that knowledge right there every day is so invaluable. And so in the same way for Caleb and RJ to be able to have ongoing conversations with Coach Lebo, with Jeff. And so that's one of the many things that I love about this staff, is that we can check every box on every position because every guy here has played here and has experienced this place and has been successful at this place. I don't know why you wouldn't want to come here and take up all the knowledge that our assistant coaches have.
Hubert, when you go back to way back to the beginning of the year and you named your captains, and I think it was Armando, Caleb, and RJ, was there anything else you wanted to see from Leaky in not naming him a captain that maybe you've seen across these last couple of months?
No, I mean, naming a captain, it's you know, as I said before, you know, throughout the year I said that there hasn't been at the beginning of the year there wasn't a definitive one-person leader. But what has grown has been a team full of leaders. And one of the things that I feel like the guys have learned is that leadership comes in many different forms, and that some people aren't comfortable of being a vocal leader, but you can be a leader in many different ways. And that's what Leaky is. Leaky is one of our leaders on this team. He's not somebody that feels comfortable being vocal, but the way that he practices, his selfless play, and the way that he encourages all of our guys, his personality, his experience, he's leading us. And I wish I could name the entire team as team captains. I don't know if you can allow the entire team to go meet the refs before the game. You know, let's try it. Let's try it on Saturday.
Guys, got time for one last question.
One thing you tried, I had never seen on you for a long time. Did I see you dancing on the sidelines or on the court?
I did. They can get me to do anything right now. It was. I don't know what I was doing, but they were laughing and we were having a great time, and we're looking to have more memories and more stories and more testimonies. We're not done yet.
Michael, you get the last one. Go ahead.
Hubert, it seems like every game this tournament, there's a different player off the bench who comes and makes a big play. Dontrez against Baylor, Puff with, playing really good defense against UCLA. How pleased have you been with guys like Dontrez, Puff, and Justin throughout this tournament, just being ready at the drop of a hat?
I have. I've been so pleased with them because, you know, I've said before that with me, there will never be a player that could ever say, Coach Davis didn't give me a chance or an opportunity. And I've told them that that's my foundation, that's who I am. I cannot promise you when, where, how, and the manner in which you'll get that chance, but your job is to be ready. And that's what I'm most proud of for Dontrez and Puff and Justin. When the number has been called, they've been ready. And they've stepped up. And you're right, in different games, there's been different people that have stepped up and they have made plays when plays needed to be had, and we're going to need that on Saturday. Just plain and simple, we need those guys to step up, and I feel very confident on calling their name and calling their number and expecting them to play their best on Saturday.
Coach Davis, thank you very much.
Okay,
Appreciate
thank you,
y'all
guys.
being here.